Peace, loves. True 5-star, your life driver. Just checking in as I check myself. And I wanted to just weigh in to see who else may be celebrating Lent this season. Lent is a time of year that when I was heavily into Christianity, I found myself participating in Lent after hearing what my pastor had to say about the significance of it. It was a time when Jesus was said to take 40 days and 40 nights of resisting temptation, if you will. So Lent now means to me, fast forward, because those few years I participated in Lent seemed to spark something within me that every year around this time, my body automatically starts to prepare for fasting. Now, remember, fasting and praying must go together. Fasting and praying must go together. And if you're truly fasting from something that has been a temptation to you, you're going to have to pray to fast from it, because you'll realize sooner than later that that thing that is a temptation to you has a spiritual connotation, because it vexes your spirit to fast from it. So that lets you know, like, okay, this is a spiritual time. Whether it's food you're fasting from, you may choose to fast from an indulgence. Whatever it is that you feel like you might have a hard time pulling away from is what you want to do in this season. Fast from it. Simply put, whatever you're heavily tempted by, this is the time to say, hold on, let me take a break and let me see what kind of challenge taking a break from this thing presents to me. Because that's usually how it happens. Initially, I fasted food from sunup to sundown, and now that would not be any sort of an issue for me because of my eating habits. It wouldn't be, I do that now, not on a regular, but it would be nothing. If somebody said, okay, we're going to fast today, we're going to fast this week, it wouldn't be that hard. It wouldn't be that challenging for me, right? But back then, it was rough. Not eating any breakfast or lunch and waiting until, dawn. No, dusk to dawn. It was sun up to sundown, right? So back then, it was challenging. I remember breaking down and getting me a bag of chips. Don't pay this lock no man. For some reason, it's just unruly. I did everything I could to get all my locks together so they was not doing their own thing. And I had to remember that your hair is a reflection of you. Need I say more? So this one lock is just determined to not, okay, maybe it'll stay. I'm gonna put something on it to hold it down. Anyway, back to the subject at hand, right? Who else is doing Lent? I realize that some people that are even heavy in church are not even doing Lent. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think that's interesting. And I don't know if the pastors are still pushing this, not pushing Lent, but participating in this time, because it truly is a portal time. And the more people who participate in it, the more significance it has. So that's what really made me jump in. Let me tap in and see who else is participating, because it is a portal time. The more people who participate, the more substance, the more impact this time has. And refraining from, enduring temptation by the tempter, whatever your tempter is. If food is your tempter, then food. Sex can be a tempter. This is a time that you might want to refrain from sex. I'm not making no suggestions or judgments, because I'm walking my own walk. 40 days it really makes you reflect on some things, and it gives significance to how weak you may be for that thing that you're fasting from. And what I now know in my spiritual journey, it doesn't have to be food per se that you're fasting from. Because some people are not tempted by food that much. Like now I'm not tempted that much by food. Sweets is something for me to be fasting from. But I am participating in this season, this Lent season, because it truly is a season. 40 days of fasting from temptation, something that is tempting to you, that you enjoy. An indulgence can take you into a space of really needing to rely on your higher power. Your higher self has to definitely kick in. When you're fasting, you're gonna pray to your higher power. You're gonna have some deep conversations with yourself. Battlefield of the mind is what comes to my spirit every time I have to go into a struggle to say, no, we're fasting right now. The spirit of temptation can get so heavy on you that's when you realize that it is a spiritual warfare that you're involved in. Fighting your temptation is a spiritual warfare. I am reminded that spiritual versus natural is a real thing. Let me say that differently. Spiritual versus the flesh. Your spirit man versus your flesh man. Your higher self versus your lower self is a real thing. It's not just something people talk about or pastors preach on. I don't know, do pastors really talk about it? My pastor was the realist, or is the realist. I just don't attend church, like I used to. Like, I'm just on a whole different, my path took a pivot, if you will. So, but I was heavy in the church, and my pastor is a teacher, not just a preacher. That's why I sat in there. I sat under him. I sat at his feet for so long, because my pastor was a teacher, not just a preacher. He taught me life stuff. He sent us out of there on Sundays with some stuff to apply to our lives, real life, right now, today. So I said all that to say, I hope that pastors are speaking on the higher self versus the lower self. They're probably not using those terms. They're probably using more of a, heaven and hell, angels and devils type of thing. Which, if you read deeper into it, that the devil is within. So is the angel. Your higher self versus your lower self. That's an ongoing battle that requires discipline in order for you to win every little battle, every challenge, whatever it is that has overcome you. I used to smoke cigarettes. I had to fight my way out of that. I had to fight my way out of that addiction. I've had other addictions that I've had to fight my way out of. The only one I have not won yet is with the sweet. I've won. I've had small battles, big victories, and then I put myself back in the war as opposed to just leaving it. So I can admit to that. I can cop to that. I can also cop to the fact that when you go into spiritual warfare about something that is tempting you, that is it's not a good look for your life, whatever it is. You may be overindulgent in it, or it may have a power over you that is not good for your life. It's not a good look. You feel it in your spirit. Your spirit is telling you to fight that flesh in that area. And it requires spiritual warfare, because you got to constantly be your spirit self has to be constantly telling your flesh, no, we're not doing that. And the flesh can be cunning. And if you're not on top of it, if you're not on your spiritual game, before you know it, you could be indulging in that thing and be like, that, oh man, we're not supposed to be doing this. So it requires you to be on your toes, on your spiritual toes. Those who know. And that's why I'm tapping in, because I'm like, who's doing Lent? I haven't seen anybody speaking on it. Just tapping in to say, use this time, use this portal to go to spiritual war against whatever that thing is that you want to leave behind, or that you want to spring away from, move forward from. Not even that you'll never do that thing again. Like, it could be shopping, that you might have an issue with shopping. Shopping might call you to go spend some money because that's a temptation. It's not a need. It's not feeding your spirit per se. It's feeding your flesh. Your flesh wants to do that. Spirit probably wants you to be doing something else, doing something more spiritual. Unless you're going to shop and then give it to somebody. Because that's something else I realize that pastors don't speak on a lot. There's a fasting, a praying, and a giving of alms. Giving of alms, meaning giving, serving, giving to people. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get deep into that because I'm not a preacher or, I just know what I know. Feel what I feel, and am led how I'm led. So I'm going to give what Spirit gave me to get on here and talk about. And that is 40 days. Refrain from something. We're halfway in. That's neither here nor there. You can still jump in and take advantage of this time. Because what's happening in the spirit realm is that those who are having that battle, that going to spiritual warfare right now, is having an effect in the spirit realm. So you will find strength there. You'll find strength in the spirit realm. It ain't easy though, because when you get down in the trenches of that temptation, nobody can really help you. Your spirit will kick in and be a help to you, while your flesh is trying to bring you down. Like, no, come on, we can do that. Ain't nobody looking. Ain't nobody looking. Who's gonna know? This one time, I told you I had that bag of chips. That one time I broke down. I had to go get me some chips. I was at work. I never forget. That first fast, I went to get some chips. I was like, I feel like I'm going to faint, which is ridiculous. I was not going to faint. But because I was so used to feeding my body, I hadn't had my breakfast. I had skipped lunch because I was fasting, right? I broke down and got some chips. I never forget. And that was years ago. But it did tell me, it gave me an indication of how I was a slave to food. Because after I got over the dramatics of it, like, I feel like I'm going to faint or something. After I got over that, because I knew I was not going to faint. Surely I had enough food, enough fuel from even the day before to not faint. Once I got past the drama of it and really tapped into like, wow, that's kind of serious. Like, I'm having a hard time going like some hours, like from morning until dinner tonight without eating something. It made me take a hard look at myself and my indulgences, which food was an indulgence, and it shouldn't be. How to Eat to Live reminds us that, and I still enjoy food. I'm not gonna front like I don't. I just don't eat like I used to. I now eat one meal a day. I eat my fruit, my smoothies, my water, sometimes my sweets and desserts and whatever. I do that. But I eat one meal a day now. And I laugh at myself when I think about that first time I tried to fast, how dramatic I was to where I am today. And now I'm at a place where my Lent season, I use something else now as opposed to the food, because the food is not really a struggle. Like, I fast from sweets now. which that's been kind of a fail. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But what I am fasting from, which had become somewhat of a vice, it was becoming a vice. That's what I'm fasting from right now. I'm not going to divulge what that is right now. Maybe one day I'll write about it. I'm writing, I'm enjoying that. I'm writing because that's what I do. That's what I love, really, is writing. I write better than I talk, better than I speak. I'm just doing all this speaking and talking online and offline. I'm doing a lot more talking offline even because I've been very private in my life. But I'm out here because Spirit told me to come out of my comfort zone. And this one thing is something else that Spirit told me to, don't suffer alone, because it is a suffering. It's not, you ain't got to be dramatic about it. But telling yourself no can feel like a suffering. It can feel like you're suffering when it's something when it's an indulgence that you enjoy or you prefer or you're not used to telling yourself no about. It can feel like a suffering. But long suffering has its place. There's a time and place for everything. Suffering has its place. What this process does is deepens your discipline. And if you're anything like me, you can use all the more discipline that you can get. And this is a discipline exercise. This 40 days is a discipline triathlon. And the battle is your flesh versus your spirit. Who's going to win? Who's going to win in the battle of your flesh versus your spirit? That's a very important question to ponder at all times. Who's winning? Who's winning? Flesh or spirit? I just wanted to share that and to see, hopefully you will weigh in and let me know what you're doing this Lent season and how victorious you are. I also wanted to leave you with a mantra. Be ye mantra-minded. Be ye mantra-minded. I wanted to leave whatever your mantras are. If you need some, hit me up. Go to my website, book a talk. That's part of my healing modality. I can help you build your own personal healing modality. Take this with you though. Celebrate small victories on the way to big wins. The truest successes are found in the journey on the way to the destination. Take that with you. Memorize it. The Bible says something about eating the word, and that's a fact. I want to dig into some scriptures. If you're a person that already knows some, pull them up out of your spirit and start speaking those into your life. Your mantras. If you don't have any, hit me up. www.truckingthataz.com. No G, 2 Z's. Az is A.Z.Z for abundance of Z's and Zags. Book a talk with me. Go to my website. Some availability coming up. So hit me up. Like, comment, and subscribe. Weigh in on this topic for me. I would appreciate it. Weigh in on this. Let me know what you're doing. This Lent season. If anything, the road I've already traveled, I still believe in that. I've just evolved and taken a turn, if you will. Still knowing that I have to keep my spirit and my flesh intact. Still knowing that I have to be on top of the spiritual warfare. Anyway, peace, loves.